Despite President Trump's record-setting performance in the primaries with popular votes and among minority voters, media projections reported Biden as the winner of the 2020 election. Well, we take a look at one reporter's observations of some of the ways Biden has outperformed election norms.
J.B. Shirk of The Federalist outlines 5 ways Joe Biden outperformed election norms. That's as legacy media are projecting Biden as winner, despite multiple active lawsuits with hundreds of sworn affidavits alleging widespread voter fraud. But if the reported vote counts are true, Shirk argues that Biden's odds were rather unlikely.
My name is Joe Biden.
The first is the sheer number of votes he got. According to unofficial data from media outlets, Joe Biden won a historical 18 million votes. By that number, Biden smashed the records set by Obama's nearly 70 million votes in his landslide victory in 2008, as well as Hillary Clinton's 65 million in 2016. Media outlets reported that President Trump won 74 million votes. That's 10 million more votes than he won 4 years ago. By that number, Trump got the most popular votes for a sitting president in U.S. history. 26% of the votes Trump received are from minority voters. That's one of the highest percentages for a Republican presidential candidate. Meanwhile, President Trump also received 94% of the primary votes, the highest among incumbents and the 4th highest of all time. No incumbent has lost re-election after winning over 75% of primary votes. Over 18 million people turned out for Trump in the 2020 primary. Bill Clinton, who held the previous record, had half that number. Despite Trump's historical numbers of popular votes, support from minorities, and in the primaries, media projections say Trump still fell short of Biden's reported number of votes. There are 19 counties in the U.S. that have an almost perfect record of predicting the winning candidate, be it Republican or Democrat. They have been dubbed bellwether counties, and no president since at least Ronald Reagan had missed even one until this year. President Trump won every single bellwether county but won by a margin of 16 points on average, while Biden took one of these counties in Washington by 3 points. That's according to independent verification by the Wall Street Journal as well as the Epoch Times. The Federalist also notes a discrepancy between the Democrats supposed to win in the presidential race and their losses elsewhere in the election. Democrats touted the so-called blue wave before the election. The New York Times rated 27 House seats as toss-ups. Now Republicans are on their way to winning all of them. However, some argue that it's not entirely impossible to lose a presidential election and gain House seats. The National Review pointed out that it has happened before, but the last time was half a century ago in 1960, when JFK was elected. So if the media projection is accurate, the Federalist argues, amazingly, Biden beat the guy who lifted all other Republicans to victory. This as Republicans across the nation are poised to flip more seats, even in California. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
Attorney Sidney Powell filed a 75-page complaint in Michigan detailing numerous allegations of election fraud in the state. The legal filing has sworn affidavits from experts saying the voting patterns show physically impossible spikes and other anomalies. NTD's Christina Kim takes a closer look.
The complaint against Michigan's Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and Governor Gretchen Whitmer marks the beginning of Powell's lawsuit against the state. Some of the allegations are repeated claims from Michigan and other states. Republican challengers were unable to meaningfully observe, and workers were instructed to backdate ballots. Other claims are newer. Expert witness Russell James Ramsland Jr. works with the Allied Security Operations Group. In the past, he has worked with NASA and MIT. Ramsland said there were 4 physically impossible spikes, totaling almost 385,000 ballots allegedly processed in a combined interval of 2 hours and 38 minutes. He concluded that Dominion alone is responsible for the injection or fabrication of almost 290,000 illegal votes in Michigan that must be disregarded. This is nearly twice the number of ballots by which Biden is leading Trump, which is approximately 150,000 votes. Dr. Naveed Keshavarz-Nia has a PhD in engineering and technology and received advanced training from the CIA, NSA, and DHS. In a sworn statement, he says he believes that USB memory cards were used to facilitate administrative backdoor access to disrupt polling operations and impact ballot counting across Michigan, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Wisconsin. He also said after detailed analysis of the New York Times data, in his expert judgment, the vote count distribution in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia are not based on normal system operation. Instead, they are caused by fraudulent electronic manipulation of the targeted voting machines. Another affidavit was submitted by someone whose name and personal information was redacted. This person was an electronic intelligence analyst with extensive experience as a white hat hacker used by some of the top election specialists in the world. A search of Edison Research showed that they had an Iranian server, and there are records showing China accessing Dominion Voting's servers. Edison Research reports the vote count tabulation to Decision Desk HQ for election results. According to the affidavit, the digital forensics analysis shows there is unambiguous evidence that Dominion voter systems and Edison Research have been accessible and were certainly compromised by rogue actors such as Iran and China. The complaint asked the court to provide emergency relief to decertify Wayne County's results, stop Benson and Whitmer from transmitting the state's certifications to the Electoral College, and to transmit certified election results that President Donald Trump is the winner of the election in Michigan, among other requests. Michigan's Senate committee is set to meet next Tuesday, December 1st, to hear testimony about absentee ballot counting at Detroit's TCF Center. Christina Kim, NTD News.
One of Dominion Voting System's key tech employees has been found to have worked for a firm backed by the Chinese military. That's as the company remains in the hot seat of voter fraud allegations. NTD's Juliet Song has the details.
A key person behind the Dominion Voting System has an unexpected former employer, a Chinese company that's accused of endangering U.S. national security. That's according to a report from political news outlet The National Pulse. The report comes as Dominion remains at the center of election controversy. The company is facing allegations of rigging election results. In a Twitter post, President Trump quoted a report claiming Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. The company denies these claims. Dominion is one of the largest voting machine providers in the U.S. More than 30 states use its software, including those with razor-thin margins, like Georgia and Arizona. The employee in question is named Andy Huang. His LinkedIn profile shows he holds an important role, Manager of IT Core Infrastructure. The title suggests he's familiar with the chief infrastructure of the algorithms behind Dominion's software. Back in early 2000, Huang worked for China Telecom, a company that the Department of Defense says is owned or controlled by the Chinese military. And this April, federal agencies, including Homeland Security, called for banning China Telecom, citing national security risks. Huang has since removed records of his employment at both Dominion and China Telecom from his LinkedIn profile. Juliet Son, NTD News.
Beijing's rise in aggressiveness on the world stage has overstepped international laws. A new alliance is in the works to stand up to Beijing's bullying. NTD's Tiffany Meyer brings us more.
Senior Trump administration officials say the White House is pushing forward with even more tough measures against Beijing. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Among them, the most significant move will be the creation of an informal alliance of Western nations. When Beijing uses its trading power to bully other nations, the group would act together to retaliate. For example, when China blocks certain imports, the alliance would instead purchase the goods. The group could also decide to lay tariffs on China for compensation. One senior official told the Wall Street Journal China is trying to beat countries into submission with economic coercion, adding that the West needs to create a system to collectively absorb the economic punishment from China's coercive diplomacy and offset the cost. Officials say China's economic retaliation toward Australia inspired the idea. That's after the country pushed for an investigation into the origins of the CCP virus.